The night was silent, the air thick with an eerie stillness. The only sound was the slow, rhythmic ticking of the old wall clock, each second echoing through the dimly lit room. You lay in bed, wrapped in the soft fabric of your bedsheet, feeling its familiar warmth against your skin. But tonight, something felt different. You shifted slightly, eyes heavy with exhaustion, yet your mind raced with unease. The weight of unseen thoughts pressed upon your chest like a silent force trying to speak, yet you couldn't understand its language. You tried to shake it off, convincing yourself that it was just another restless night. But as your hands absent-mindedly traced a fold of your bedsheet, a strange sensation coursed through you, something inexplicable, something unsettling. You sat up, staring at the fabric beneath you. It was just a bedsheet, wasn't it? A simple piece of cloth that had covered you night after night. Yet tonight, it felt different, almost alive. A whisper of a thought crept into your mind. What if this bedsheet is not just fabric? What if it holds a message meant for you? Your heart pounded. You tried to dismiss the thought, but a sudden gust of wind rattled your window, sending a chill through your spine. It was as if the universe had nudged you, urging you to listen, to pay attention. You reached out and ran your fingers over the sheet again, this time more deliberately. Every crease, every fold. Suddenly, they seemed to tell a story you hadn't noticed before. And then you saw it, a pattern, a message hidden in plain sight. The very fabric you had ignored for years now whispered secrets that had been waiting for you to discover. A message from God. Your breath quickened as your mind raced through the possibilities. Was this a coincidence? A trick of the mind? Or was it something greater, something divine? You thought about the countless nights you had buried yourself beneath these sheets. Nights of sorrow, nights of hope, nights of silent prayers whispered into the darkness. Had God been listening all along? Had he woven his response into the very fabric of your existence? A memory surfaced, one from years ago. You were younger then, lost and desperate, searching for meaning in the chaos of life. You had cried yourself to sleep, pleading for a sign, begging for guidance. And now, after all this time, had the answer been with you all along? You traced the lines of the fabric, feeling a strange warmth spread through your fingertips. The words weren't visible in ink or thread, yet they were there, clear as day in your heart. I have always been here. Tears welled up in your eyes. How often had you felt alone? How often had you believed that no one was listening, that your struggles were yours to bear alone? And yet, here it was, proof that you had never been abandoned. The weight of realization sank deep into your soul. You had spent years searching for a sign, for some grand revelation, when all along the answer had been right where you rested your head every night. God had always been speaking to you. You just hadn't been listening. The shift in perception. Everything around you felt different now. The air carried a newfound energy. The ticking of the clock no longer seemed ominous but rhythmic, like a heartbeat, steady, reassuring. The bedsheet that once felt ordinary now held meaning beyond comprehension. And then another thought struck you. How many times had you overlooked God's messages in your life? How many times had you dismissed the small signs, the subtle nudges, the whispered reassurances? How often had you searched for grand miracles while ignoring the quiet moments where God was present, speaking to you through the simplest things? The bedsheet was never just fabric. It was a metaphor for everything you had taken for granted. The love that surrounded you, the blessings hidden in plain sight, the whispers of God woven into the details of your life. A deep sense of peace washed over you. You were never alone. You were never unheard. Every night, as you lay beneath the sheet, you were being held, protected, and reminded of a truth you had forgotten. Tonight, you would sleep differently, not in restless uncertainty, but in faith, because now you knew the truth. God speaks in the quiet, in the ordinary, in the unnoticed, and if you truly listen, you will hear him. The revelation from the night before clung to you like an echo in the depths of your soul. You woke up with a strange clarity, a heightened awareness of the world around you. The bedsheet, the same one you had mindlessly slept under for years, was no longer just a piece of fabric. It was a symbol, a message, but a question lingered in your mind. If God had spoken through something as simple as a bedsheet, what else had you been missing? As you sat at the edge of your bed, running your fingers over the fabric, once more, memories flooded your mind. Flashes of moments when you had doubted, when you had feared, when you had questioned your worth. And yet, hadn't there always been something, some unseen force, that had carried you through? You had always assumed that divine messages came in grand revelations, in booming voices in the sky, or in undeniable miracles. But what if they were everywhere? What if God had been speaking to you in ways so small, so subtle, that you had overlooked them? With a deep breath, you stood up. Today, you would look at the world differently. Today, you would listen. Lessons in the ordinary. As you moved through your day, a shift in perspective took place. The world around you, once dull and routine, now felt alive with meaning. The first sign came with the morning sunlight streaming through your window. It painted golden patterns on the floor, and for the first time, you noticed how effortlessly light filled the darkness. Isn't that what faith does? Even in the darkest moments, light always finds a way. Hadn't you experienced that in your own life? In the moments when you felt lost, didn't hope always return, even in the smallest ways? Then, there was a stranger who held the door open for you at the cafe. A small act of kindness. So simple, so easy to ignore, but you saw it now. God works through people, through their kindness, their compassion, their willingness to extend a hand. You thought about the times when a friend had called just when you needed it, when a problem had resolved itself in an unexpected way, when you had stumbled upon the right words in a book or a song at precisely the right moment. Were these really coincidences? Or had God been speaking all along? Everything was connected. Everything carried a message. The question was, were you paying attention? The weight of unanswered prayers. But with this newfound awareness came another thought. What about the prayers that had gone unanswered? There were moments in your life when you had begged for something, a sign, a breakthrough, a miracle, and it hadn't come, or at least, it hadn't come in the way you had expected. A memory surfaced. A time when you had prayed desperately for a certain job, believing it was a key to your happiness. When you didn't get it, you had felt abandoned, unheard. But now, looking back, you saw the bigger picture. That rejection had led you to something better, an opportunity you never would have considered otherwise. You realized something profound. Sometimes, God's greatest answer comes in the form of no. Not because he is silent, not because he has abandoned you, but because he sees beyond what you can. Because what you want is not always what you need. It was humbling. You had spent so much time resenting the silence, failing to see that even in unanswered prayers, there was guidance. Even in closed doors, there was protection. Even in detours, there was a divine plan unfolding. The bedsheet revisited. That night, as you lay down once again, the bedsheet felt different beneath you. Not in texture, but in meaning. This wasn't just about fabric. It wasn't even just about signs. It was about trust. Trust that God was always speaking, even when you couldn't hear him. Trust that every moment, every encounter, every delay, every detour was part of something bigger. Trust that even when you didn't understand, you were being led exactly where you needed to be. You pulled the bedsheet over you, feeling its warmth, its embrace. And this time, as you closed your eyes, there was no fear, no doubt, because now you understood you were never alone. You never had been, and you never would be. The night felt different. The air carried a sense of peace, a stillness that wasn't just silence but a presence, one you could feel deep in your soul. As you lay beneath the bedsheet, wrapped in its quiet embrace, a thought settled in your mind. If God has always been speaking, then what is he saying now? You close your eyes, allowing yourself to sink into the moment. No distractions, no racing thoughts, just stillness. A quiet invitation for answers. And then, like a whisper through your soul, the realization came. He was saying, trust me. It wasn't loud. It wasn't forceful. But it was clear. And with it came an overwhelming sense of surrender. For so long, you have been carrying the weight of control, trying to figure everything out, trying to make sense of the unknown. But now you understood. You were never meant to carry it alone. God had been weaving his plans into the fabric of your life long before you ever realized it. Just as every thread in your bedsheet had been woven with precision, so too had every moment in your life. Every joy, every heartbreak, every detour, every delay. Nothing had been wasted. Nothing had been without purpose. Letting go, leaning in, with this newfound clarity, you started to see life differently. The days no longer felt like a string of random events, but like pages of story being written with divine intention. The small frustrations? They weren't obstacles. They were lessons. The unanswered prayers? They weren't rejections. They were redirections. The moments of waiting? They weren't delays. They were preparations. You had spent so much time asking for signs, for guidance, for proof that you were not alone. And now, you understood that you had been surrounded by answers all along. You had simply been too distracted to see them. But now, you were ready to listen. And so you did. In the warmth of the sun on your face, you heard, "I am with you." In the kindness of a stranger, you heard, "You are seen." In the stillness of the night, you heard, "You are loved." A life transformed. The bedsheet had not changed. The world had not changed. But you had. You no longer sought grand signs or miracles, because you understood now that faith is not about seeing. It's about trusting. You weren't waiting for God to show up in extraordinary ways anymore. You knew he was already here, in every breath, in every moment, in every detail of your life. As you lay beneath the bedsheet one final time, you ran your fingers across its soft fabric, a smile forming on your lips. This wasn't just about a bedsheet. It was about the unseen thread that had been guiding you all along. And now you finally saw it.